You're listening to Moviesucktastic.
Sounds like some bad movie.
Hello. Hello. I can't hear you, sir. No, I cannot.
I should unmute myself.
You should. That's what you should do.
Well, like 15-minute opening. I'm like falling asleep over here.
Ah, that's okay. Yeah, well, you know what? All right, 15-minute opening. Come on, for real?
No, I'm just kidding around.
I know you are, but you're not.
Welcome to Moviesucktastic, everybody.
Hey, well, you know what's funny too? The two trailers that I picked the 1984 trailer for Red Dawn, based on looked like a high school radio commercial that they would, it's like, welcome to our town, it's lovely, go over to wherever and get homemade biscuits, and makes you feel like you want to come home. And then it goes into the war and whatnot. And then the reason why I picked the other one for the new Red Dawn is because it actually shows the original release date for the movie, which was March 15th of like 2011 or something.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and we can get into that whole thing first. I mean, this is one of our features we're trying to do on the show now, is every now and then we're trying to review whether it's an old film or the original. We're trying to review the original and the remake at the same time.
Right. So
we're not only reviewing the film, but comparing the two of them, kind of like the same way I like to review a book and the movie it was based on at the same time, as long as it's not a Stephen King novel, because.
Well. And
so it's interesting, this kind of film, this kind of remake, where we're going back to 87, 85, 84. We're going back to 1984. I've got all my information up here on the big wall.
The big one.
So we're talking, 30 years?
29.
30 years. 30 years, yeah. 40, 50, whatever. So we're talking. Years. So it's a whole generation difference. And I find what's most interesting about, well, first of all, you liked Red Dawn, the original?
You know what's interesting? I remember watching it a whole bunch when I was a kid, and I remembered liking it. I don't remember loving it, but I remembered liking it. I don't remember rewatching it now. I don't remember liking it as much as I did in rewatching it now as an adult. I found that it was a lot better than I was expecting it to be from my memory as a kid.
You liked it more now?
I did. I did like it more now. Whereas the remake of the film, I was expecting, I wasn't expecting that to be as bad as it was. I was expecting to like that more, or at least have some improvements. Not have some guy literally watching the original film and just going down the line and saying, okay, they love each other. The brothers really like each other in the first. Let's make them hate each other in the second, or in the remake. They just went and reversed everything. If it happened in the first film, it happened in the remake, but they just reversed it.
right, and we've talked about this in the past, or it's almost like this a committee type screenplay where you can see the boardroom just discussing, like running down the list. Okay, what are we going to change to surprise audiences? What do we want to flip over? Because their idea of reinventing something is just changing, like you say, going to the opposite time. I mean, when you look at a good reboot, or if you want to call it that, or remake, like look at the Star Trek,
right? Oh,
where
perfect.
They don't
example.
just like, and this time instead of them this, they'll do that. They just recreate it from whole cloth and take elements from the original, but they make it its own thing. Without jumping the gun, the Red Dawn remake is never its own thing. All it is
they borrow everything from the first film and just twist it just a hair to try and make it its own thing, and it just fails miserably. The brother, Patrick Swayze, Jed in the original, he's just, good old hometown boy, goes hunting with his dad, but they had to make Chris Hemsworth Jed a Marine. Because God forbid, they don't have, they got to figure out how they can survive somehow.
All right, well, and here's where let's take a look.
It probably works more if he's a Marine. I get that, but it's only done to do that little reverse.
Right, but let's to tackle what you just talked about. Let's go back to the original.
Okay.
Original is, we're talking about the tail end of the Cold War. We're talking about a time period where a good portion of our audience that's younger than you and I probably don't remember living in a kind of age where people were fond of referring to the idea that we could be nuked at any moment.
Yeah, that is true.
We have like the fear of terrorism, and I hate to sound this way, and this is actually a bit more for strangers, but really our fears today, we sound like pussies today when we talk about our fears of terrorism. Someone might bring a bomb on the plane. We grew up in the 80s where the fear was we might wake up tomorrow and find that we've melted into ash.
Yeah.
Because the entire planet's been destroyed.
I don't have a bomb shelter.
We were to the point where we looked back and saw Duck and Cover and realized it was a horrible, horrible joke. And we were left with the fact of it, if anything happens, we're all dead.
Yeah.
It was just a global acceptance that anybody, any day, just on a fluke, the entire planet could be fucking nuked. And Red Dawn was at the tail end of that whole kind of conservative wet dream, Cold War paranoia, where America's the greatest country in the world and every other major country are just evil cocksuckers looking to shit in our cereal. I apologize for using that phrase, by the way, because I've never used that.
Never ever.
And no,
not on the show anyway.
Believe me, that's the first time I've ever uttered that phrase. But and so it was that kind of it's a mix up of that conservative wet dream, Cold War paranoia mixed with that all American underdog delusional belief that the little guy will always overcome. And you even said it, that opening trailer, it's all about apple pie, Americana, the football, the Midwestern football team, or Western in this case is Colorado, in Washington in the remake, right? So same coast.
Yeah, it's same region.
Yeah, I think it's Spokane, Washington in the remake. So we're West Coast. So we're on the West Coast, and far away from the evil East Coast because they're first to go. And and so it's that imagery.
Head over to Montana.
And it's the imagery of the American pie, Americana, simple hometown people, and then the idea that when this evil foreign country swoops in, a group of high school footballers, football kids, high school kids, can just, save America.
Yeah, there's 6 of them. You don't have enough people. I don't care now, if you're all Colonel, Colonel America, or Captain America, I should say. Right. You don't have enough people. They specifically say World War III. They mention only a few countries. It doesn't really classify as World War, but
again,
that's in the '84 version. In the remake, it's just North Korea.
And now
because we don't want to piss off too many people.
We'll get to that in a minute. But so I mean, I've never liked the original because I was never big in the war films as a kid, so I wasn't especially thrilled by the film.
Right.
And then growing up, becoming slightly more political and more worldly aware, it's a dumb movie. It's an exceedingly dumb movie.
Oh, I no doubt. I'm not going to disagree with that at all.
I mean,
there's so many things you could strip this film down with.
Well, I mean, just the basics, and in both films, the same way. The Soviet Union was a great world power because of its nuclear arsenal, but if you matched army to army, America is like just amazingly, obliteratingly, vastly superior as far as firepower, troops, etc.
Sure.
And the idea that the Soviets could send in some paratroopers and suddenly take over half the country.
Yeah.
And we're sticking to the original now. We're sticking to the original.
Yes. And what I did like that they did in this film that they didn't do in the remake was the colonel for, I think it was Cuba. He specifically asks one of his men to go to the local, I think fish and game shop, and asks to go get the registered, private registered licenses so that they knew who had guns. So that they could go and take them away and then go line them up somewhere and then shoot the shit out of them. Now, this is one of those films that
was his name Obama?
Yeah. Let's not go there. This is one of those films that utilized the PG-13 rating, and it's probably an R. But because of the subject...
It's definitely an R.
Yeah, because of the subject matter. No, go ahead.
At the time, no, it's okay. At the time, it was it held the record for the most violent film ever made. As far as like bullet hits and like bodies dead, people shot on screen, it was
blood.
the most violent film ever made.
Wasn't like the remake where someone got shot and there really wasn't any blood.
Oh wow! That was that PG-13?
Yes, it was. Barely.
Yeah, that deserved it. That deserved it. That's fucking sad, is what that is.
It got a PG-13 because he says "fuck" at some point. Otherwise, it could have been pushing a PG.
It really could have.
I could have showed that to my son, and he would have been fine.
Hold back, because I got a feeling we have a lot to say about the remake.
Okay.
Yeah, it was definitely underrated, and that was at a time period when the MPAA, the PG-13 had come out just because they were shoving out Hollywood films like Temple of Doom and Gremlins that were clearly adult, but they were giving them PGs because the studio had clout and everything. And then once that reached a head, they threw out the PG-13. Even there, grossly underused. If that had been an action film that didn't involve patriotism in America, if it was just like, well, not Bruce Willis back then, but
I always bring up the film,
Van Damme.
the Invisible Kid. The Invisible Kid, yeah.
Yes,
with
I've seen it.
The kid that played Bug in Uncle Buck, that guy.
Anyway,
that film, such an R, it's not even funny. With the swearing alone, the nudity. There's a whole scene in the film where he's invisible going through the girls' locker room, top and bottom, bush and all, PG.
Just the sexual situations alone. I think the one line of dialogue that sticks in my head from that film is, I've been jerking off in the shower so much I get a hard on when it rains. It's PG-13.
Yeah, I'm flying. But to go back, I think one of the biggest reasons why this film stuck with a PG-13 was because of the subject matter, and definitely. That they probably no. What I'm getting at is they probably felt it was important in some way because of the subject that they touched on.
It was
you know what I'm saying? Because it was close to home. It was something that they thought could possibly happen. They probably felt it as an important film. And, of course, you got John Milius directing it, who was a big-time director. And the guy written and has directed some pretty big Hollywood hits. And I just think they kind of gave it a pass.
I think it's even beyond, like, being important, which I'm not saying you're wrong, but also, like you say, it was a big name director. It was a big studio film, and they were looking for a big turnout. And that's the kind of thing where, I mean, I really think there was a point. There was a not to get too much into the whole rating system. There was a point then where the MPAA was clearly pro studio and straight anti horror film. If you were a horror film and you had blood in it, any kind, it was an immediate X, not even X. Well, they wouldn't give an X. They just never copyrighted it, but it was an immediate X because they would pretty much just whitewash any blood out of it. The same amount of blood or violence in a studio action film, easy R, possibly in this case PG-13. So they were always very studio friendly, and they were always anti-horror film because of the strict puritanical background of the people that were judging these films.
Well, take the film Commando. Comes out a mere few months later, 85. R-rated. The only difference, swearing. So it just drives your point home big time. Yeah, it was puritanical. It was, the violence, it was only dependent on whether the violence was deemed prurient, which really most violence is prurient when in films in general. Prurient, you know what I'm talking about. I got you, baby. But then cursing was a line there too, because you're dealing with that religious level of we can't have this in our homes. Right. But violence, gun violence is okay as long as the Americans are the good guys. Sure. That kind of thing. But anyway, stupid. And it's got Powers Boothe in it. How bad could it be? Powers fucking Boothe is the man. And what's interesting, I was looking at Milius's career and whatnot. Powers Boothe was in Extreme Prejudice, which Milius wrote the screenplay for. Which I was like, oh, okay, that's how he got Powers Boothe in there. Now, speaking of military and Powers Boothe, I still say best Powers Boothe film ever, Southern Comfort. I haven't seen that. Wow. Oh, man. Bunch of weekend warriors. I have to revisit that film for sure. Bunch of weekend warriors out in the bayou, piss off the wrong rednecks, and next thing you know, they're being picked off one by one. Powers Boothe is the fucking man, and all I gotta say is Powers Boothe ends up in a scenario where a guy with a shotgun comes at him. Powers Boothe has a meat cleaver. Powers Boothe wins that fight. I wouldn't have it any other way. Fucking Powers. When they first had the list out of the cast, and they had the guy that played comedian, I called it immediately. Say he's playing Powers Boothe character. You just knew, and that's what they were going for. Yeah, Powers Boothe is what he's the only thing that made sudden death a semi-likable film, and that's the one with Van Damme and the hockey tournament where Van Damme's a fireman. Oh, so bad. Now I remember you dragging me to see that movie. Yes. And I didn't drag you. All right, I didn't drag you. Well, come on. We were going to go do something that night. Nobody wanted to see it, but we went to go see it because it had hockey in it. You were willing to volunteer for that. Well, that's the only reason why Chris and I went. Right. Because there was hockey in it. And Chris and I, about halfway through, I'm falling asleep. Chris is I think he's falling asleep. We're looking at each other, and it's like, hockey's not helping this movie. Don't make it out like I'm the odd man out on that outing. Don't make it sound like I was there giddy, like shaking my fist and everything. I think it was only the three of us at that film. It was, but I'm saying don't make us. Is Chris in the room? Like, what? Chris is in the room. Chris, was it just Scott, you, and me for sudden death? He's in the room. Yeah, he's in the chat room. Oh, in the chat room. Okay. He's in the chat room. I have to get in the chat room. Boojna. Not Walnut. Bushna. Yeah, no, I know. So, I think we'll see what he says. Maybe Doug. See, I don't think so. I think it was Doug there. Yes. Are you sure? I'm not sure. I'm saying I think. This is I think. I could have sworn Chris was in for that one because it was hockey involved. Well, because the one thing I remember is pointing out at the end that not only does Powers Boothe die in this film, but he dies wearing a Robert Redford wig. Which is like ultimate insult. Poor Powers Boothe.
Yeah, that poor exactly. I felt just as bad as for him in that as I did for John Lithgow in Cliffhanger. It's like
Chris says he thinks all four of us were there.
I'm pretty sure Doug was there.
When is Tarantino going to resurrect Powers Boothe's career?
Oh fuck yeah!
You know,
Well,
I mean
Powers,
that.
Powers. I think Powers is getting old for action films.
Nah, it doesn't have to. Well, he doesn't have to do action. Tarantino could give him some good dialogue, and he'd be fine with it.
Yeah, well, maybe Powers doesn't want to be resurrected. Maybe he's fine where he is.
Well, you never know. He might have been approached, and you're right. This is the scene in the original where they drink, or the C. Thomas Howell, who could be possibly the most annoying actor of the '80s, with his grunts and.
All you have to do is say C. Thomas Howell, and it just like thrills me to no end. And now, ironically, C. Thomas Howell is another one of his films that was remade. That was a classic '80s film, The Hitcher. That was remade into a bastardization of the original as well.
Worse than this, though.
No, definitely worse. Definitely a worse remake than this. This was watchable.
Yes, it was. Yes.
I mean, for the original though, it's very heavy. It's very heavy-handed as far as the patriotic, the whole scene where they're singing "God Bless America" in front of the firing squad.
Yeah.
And it really takes that whole feel of us going back to now we're like the rebels again during the Revolutionary War, and we're resorting to resorting to guerrilla tactics in order to try to bring back our country, and it's all about how great America is.
Yeah, how we're going to prevail in the end and all that bullshit.
And the '80s was a great time period for that very simplistic. And we're talking before major news media, as far as like 24-hour media, or even having a lot of different options for your news.
Sure.
Unless you went out of your way to be very well read, all you knew was what you were told by the 10 o'clock news and maybe Time magazine. Speaking of journalistic integrity.
If you were even that cultured.
If you're even trying to. I'm saying if you weren't trying to. I mean, now, these days, you can't help but be bombarded with the facts. And all it takes is a casual interest to seek down actual news stories and get the data. Whereas back then, you were pretty much at the whim of the three channels.
Yet it feels like people are more ignorant than ever.
That's a different show conversation.
It sure is.
But so I'm saying, like Red Dawn, the plot, as simplistic as it is, was ideal for that simplistic time period where we elected a cowboy actor president.
Yeah.
So we're in that frame of mind, and it was an easy sell.
Yes.
Now, flash forward to the Red Dawn remake 2012. We're in a more sophisticated time. We're in a time where we don't have a big boogeyman bad guy against us. The ones that we do have are manipulated to an extent. We're just coming off a 10-year war that the majority of Americans agree was bullshit to begin with. It has been proven to not have been necessary. It had nothing to do with the attacks on this country to begin with. And that's been proven. If you're listening and you don't agree with that, we have another show called Strangers. Listen to that and call in. Okay. And so they had to take the simplistic plot and try to make it complex, and they fail.
Yeah, no, it is as simple as apple pie, really. I'm looking at the budget for the new film now. I believe it was actually filmed in 2008 or 2009.
Now, and I'm going to point this out now, since we're talking about the whole idea of the implausibility of it, and it was so out of date, the concept, that when they filmed the film, China was the enemy. Right,
you're right. They CGI'd North Korea on all the flags and all the posters and everything.
They changed it in post because they realized that the second largest consumer of American films outside of America is China. And
the stereotype, they all look the same. I mean, they filmed it with the intention of China, but went with North Korea, and nobody could tell the difference.
Yeah, so they did it afterwards, and they did it when they realized that North Korea was a more sound. Now North Korea, a better bad guy as far as
Oh, absolutely.
and just as far as like being an evil,
It
run by
was
an evil despot, what have you. Again, I'm not saying China's all peaches and cream, but and also why the hell would China invade us when all they have to do is just
what
rent
is
our
they
country to us?
they're gonna deny us cheap plastic electronics? Come on. Is that what's gonna happen?
Where they can import their shit to, export their shit to.
According to the wiki page, it says because it's an MGM film. That's the biggest reason why it was delayed for as long as it was, because of MGM's money problems.
Right.
It announced its intention to remake Red Dawn in May of 2008. Principal characters were cast the following year, and the film went into production September of 2009. So it was scheduled to be released November 2010, and then it was shelved because of MGM's financial problems. And then it was supposed to come out a few more times in 2011, and then a couple times in 2012, and then finally was released November 2012.
Now, when they start planning it in 2008, or at least when they're in pre-production, going up to 2008, just after. When was the date when they announced it?
It was May 2008 is when they announced intention to make. Production started September 2009.
Okay. All right, so that's before the election.
Correct.
When it was announced.
Yes, correct.
So we've got Bushy Boy in the White House. We're still going strong on our war, and America. America's all pro-America, MURICA, and so in the 2 years it takes for them to get it back on track and get into production again, the tide's shifting, and by the time they're done, it's like, oh shit, you know what? Attacking China is not a good idea anymore.
Yeah.
And now I want to the most important thing I want to point out in this film is that when all this happens, these characters become terrorists.
Yeah.
That's what they become. They become terrorists. Now I don't think they actually call themselves terrorists. The other guys call them terrorists. The bad guys call them terrorists.
Not insurgents. The hell did they call them? I don't remember.
You know what my favorite part is? As far as like the insurgency and all that.
Is this the original or the remake?
We're talking about the remake now.
Okay. What's your favorite part?
It is when they go into when they're escaping, when the one fucking idiot fucks up the entire plan by going after the bus with his girl in it.
His brother, yeah, Matty.
Yeah,
I hate that actor, by the way. He is as annoying as C. Thomas Howell is to me in the original.
I agree with you totally on that. And so when they duck into that clothing store and the woman says, "Here, take this clothing and go."
Yeah.
Right. So then we go later, and they've got the woman that owns the clothing store in the street, and they're holding up the orange jumpsuit that the girl was wearing.
Right.
It's like, what the fuck did she do? Try to sell it after they swapped out? We're talking months into this government, into this country invading America and taking over. She's helping these people escape, but someone just happens to find the orange jumpsuit in her business. It's like, all right, this is obviously this is small town America, because these people are fucking idiots. Holy shit.
Yeah,
and I also love that they throw in the Soviet, Soviet Union there, in cahoots with North Korea. So yeah, I can see them jumping on the bandwagon to this, because it's obvious it's going to be a vast success. It made just as much sense as Cuba helping Russia.
I wish I took down every single instance of where they took something from the original and just twisted it, because I'm just going by memory. Because I remember watching both films and just being disgusted by how often they did it in the remake.
Yeah. Well, one big one is the rat, the traitor that they have to kill.
Oh, right. Yeah.
It's like I'm all waiting for that one guy to be the traitor, and then it's like, oh no, they stabbed you with a tracing beacon.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, and they just leave him out there, and they don't kill him. And that's Connor Cruz.
Because
Is
every
that
arm...
one of Tom? Is that one of Tom Cruise's adopted children?
Haven't a clue.
It is. Oh,
Okay.
Lord.
Now, I just like the idea that every patrol sentry in that area must have a little punch dagger with a with a tracking beacon in it in case they happen to wrestle down one of the insurgents.
That's right. Just in
Where
case.
the fuck did that come from?
And that's another plot thing that they did. Do we care about doing spoilers for this?
No, it's a remake. No.
Okay.
No.
Whereas Patrick
Don't talk about the
Swayze.
ending yet. Don't talk about the ending
all
yet.
right.
I
because
wanna talk about
it's mentioned with the tracking device with the knife. But okay, it's fine. We could save it. No. The reason why he the tracking device that he gets stabbed with, something happens before that where that's how they find out. Where it was a little twist.
What was the twist?
Okay, in the original, Patrick Swayze and Charlie Sheen, Jed and Maddie. In the original, Maddie dies. Okay?
Right.
Okay, Patrick Swayze doesn't. Or at least they allude to the fact that he doesn't. Whereas in the remake, first of all, they fucking reverse that. Chris Hemsworth dies, and Maddie lives. And the whole reason why Chris Hemsworth, Jed, dies is because they were tracking them the whole time because that kid got stabbed.
Right.
So that's just the only thing I wanted to mention was, again, fucking just twist it just a hair,
Now, what's worse than that is the scenes they keep, and I want to draw your attention to one scene that you knew they were going to copy. That was the iconic scene from the trailers of the original,
Wolverines.
where the girl lures them, and then all of a sudden the guys pop up out of the field with the guns.
Yeah.
From their little, I don't know, what it was, spider's nest or rat's nest or whatever the fuck they call it. Now, they recreate that scene. What?
I think it's a rat's nest.
Whatever. They recreate that scene, but they do it in the city. So she goes and pretends to try to avoid a checkpoint. They chase her down. She runs a corner into an alley, and then these guys jump up out of holes in the ground and shoot the guards and steal their guns.
Yes.
Right? Okay.
All correct.
I have two major problems with this. One, apparently these guards at this checkpoint are the only armed soldiers within a 2-mile radius. Because they're there.
I would say less.
Because they're there for after that gunfight. They're there for a good 2 minutes with not even like a siren in the distance.
Yeah, they're just picking shit off the dead bodies for supplies. It's like, you got time for that?
Town.
You don't have time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that.
Don't start with that. And I need to point out the fact that when they jump up out of their rat's nests or spider holes, whatever the fuck, now they do it in an alley, like a parking lot alley.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They're in holes in concrete. I'd like to know how they masked the activity of them taking jackhammers and digging holes in the concrete for them to hide in a block away from the checkpoint.
Suspension of disbelief, man.
No, fuck that. There is so much disbelief I can... if they had popped out of cardboard boxes, I'd be fine. If they had all jumped out of like garbage cans lining the aisle, I would have been cool with that. They dug holes in the concrete.
Maybe they were already there.
Yeah, and we talked. You talked about too how they had to change the main character from just a hunting football guy to a
military.
A yeah. So he knew how to train everybody to be soldiers.
Sure.
Because all it takes is a couple months.
That's it.
To be
and
able to
it didn't even feel in that montage. It didn't even feel like they were doing it for that long. It literally felt like they did it that day, and they were like, "Okay, we're ready."
Well, that's the one
that's
thing
what
the
it felt
film.
like.
That's the one thing the film never successfully does is, and that the original I think did. The original managed to convey that feeling of time passing.
Yeah.
This film never. When they're alluding to the fact that it's been like 6 months now, no fucking way in hell are you even contemplating the idea that there's actually been a 6-month time span here. No, none of the characters are changing. They're all wearing the same costumes. There's no deterioration of the uniform costumes they're wearing. It's like they've somewhere they've got a laundry machine set up.
Right.
And they're no one's they're all managing to shave every couple of days, so they have that nice like 2-day growth going.
Progression of time was better dealt with in Groundhog's Day. Let's. All right. Have you? Speaking of that, I just randomly brought that up. But have you read? There's like a whole website or websites dedicated to how long he was actually living that day over and over and over.
No,
they said it's something like anywhere up to, and even Harold Ramis, the director, has said it's not less than 10 years.
Really?
Something crazy like that. And I'm like, I have to rewatch this movie so that I have that in my mindset, knowing that it's years that he's reliving this day.
That's a great film.
It is a great film. I should own it. I mean, I haven't digitally pushed it over, backed it up yet. We'll talk about that on Strangers in a Strange Land.
I think the Red Dawn remake would have been better if they kept waking up every day to find North Korea invading the country.
Over and over and over.
Yeah. And it's even less plausible than the original.
Yeah.
Far less plausible, because when they were thinking of having China do it, it's like, okay, if you're talking about mass armies and military force, China might be able to do something of this nature. North Korea, yeah, that's not happening ever. And so they have to like make up this huge like Die Hard 17 yarn about, well, they had the EMP and that took out all our major military installation, and because apparently America's that fucking stupid that we don't even have like EMP shielding on important vital areas of technology running. I don't know. I guess all it takes is apparently we're not prepared for that.
A box this big, about yay big. That's it.
And so the film tries to simultaneously sell us the bill of goods that we are the greatest country in the world, and
this
at the same time
we live here.
We're America,
which
all the way.
Which they borrowed from the original film too.
Yeah, we're the biggest, we're the best, we're the strongest. Yet, a little country, half of a country, North Korea, not Korea, but North Korea, run by an insane despot who paints his pictures on everything. They managed to take us over.
Yeah.
And then the country that's probably that's obviously bigger than them, like the Soviet Russia, they're like, yeah, maybe we'll jump in afterwards and help you out. No.
We'll see how it goes. If you fuck up, then we're not going to even bother.
Good job, guys. Maybe we'll help you clean up. No, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And even with the the EMP thing they try to MP3, the EMP thing they try to sell, you're not fucking buying it.
Trying to listen to some buttery beats.
Yeah. North Korea managed to decimate our entire military so that we only have like a Powers Booth wannabe and a bunch of football players wandering around the forest, and that's our last hope.
Yeah.
Because I guess we don't have any drones off shores.
Yeah, right?
Apparently, all those foreign military installations we have don't have anything there. They're just like empty. No. There's like one guy at a desk. Like, what do you? I've been trying to call them all day. I'm not getting anything. We need more
what's
paper
happening.
clips.
The fuck is going on?
No, we don't have massive military forces overseas on the permanent military installations we happen to put in every country after we bomb the fuck out of them. No, we don't have anything out there. There's no backup plan in case somebody came within 500 miles of our shore with a fucking like a water balloon. Yeah, whatever. and then in the kind of political, again, we're talking 10 years after war started, Americans are a portion of Americans, I would say a decent portion of them, are sophisticated enough to understand that it's not us versus them anymore, even when it comes to like Al-Qaeda or Muslims, if you want to get wacky like that, or Iran or Iraq. It's no longer about us and them. It's factions and it's geopolitical insanity going on where even these most of these countries are battling amongst themselves to begin with, and civil wars, and there's no real hard cut bad guy good guy, and there's definitely nobody powerful that hates us powerful enough to come in and bitch slap us the way they do in the film. And the fact that the film has the Wolverines pretty much becoming terrorists at a time where the government had spent so many years trying to sell us on the idea that all terrorists are bad.
Mm-hmm.
It just shows again, in the 80s, we were simple enough and we were dumb enough as a country to buy a film like that and get behind it and love it. You really can't pull that kind of shit these days.
No, you're right. You can't. You just can't. Because it's on in front of me, the movie. It just Leah Thompson's character. The scene is coming up where Charlie Sheen, Maddie, tells Leah Thompson to make herself useful. And she's like, I'm never washing your dishes again. And he's like, what's up your ass? And then she basically tells him if he ever says that again, she'll kill him. And I'm like, what the fuck happened to her? Is Grandpa sneaking into her room at night? Somebody's gotten touched as a kid. Holy shit. He tells her, what's up your ass? She freaks.
Yeah. And then there's also, at the very end of the remake, just to underline how emotionally retarded, I don't mean as, I mean as retarded, not as retarded. I mean, let me use a different word. As emotionally stunted or intellectually stunted this film is. This film, the ending underlines the fact that this film could have easily been written by a 12-year-old. When at the end, after his brother dies, he's like, "Oh, now that my brother died, of course I'm going to take over the entire rebel army and instantly over whatever time frame this is supposed to be." It's got to be like 7 years. It's got to be 7 years because his brother dies. He turns around and all of a sudden he's got like 30 men behind him, and then they're taking down the prison camp with GTOs with Gatling guns, a GTO with a Gatling gun strapped to the not even a pickup truck, like a muscle car with a big ass Django motherfucker Gatling gun strapped to the top, and it's like the losers all over it. They just like come in, they just drag in and manage to blow up everything. No, it's like it's an episode of the A-Team.
At that point, yeah.
At the end of when the film ends, at the end they're just like, you know what, just fuck it, A-Team it.
Well, you know, it's interesting that you should mention that.
Where the fuck did
the director of the film, and I'll look it up real quick. I believe he was a stuntman for the A-Team back in the day. Let's see. Let's go. He's a stuntman for just about fucking every action film that's come out in the last 30 years.
That can't be a coincidence.
Holy shit. He was a stunt coordinator for Reanimator. Wow. Maybe he wasn't for the A-Team. But just about like Penitentiary 3. Stunt guy for Critters 2 and Dead Heat.
Dead Heat?
Trancers.
I just rewatched that recently.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah, I forgot Helen Hunt was in that.
He's the stunt coordinator for Hamburger, the motion picture. Wow. My Demon Lover.
All right, Hamburger, the motion picture, which I've seen in the theater, mind you.
Oh, God.
There was a stunt coordinator?
Yeah.
That's sad.
Now, a lot of his stuff could be easy movie challenges, like truly. But that's not where my movie challenge comes from this week.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's right. You owe me that.
Yes, I do.
Now what? Yeah. But now, where the fuck did they get a Gatling gun?
I guess the easiest answer would be that they stole it from the insurgents.
No.
At what point do they steal something like that? At that point, yeah. But the only real answer is that they stole it. But what do they do? Did they park it somewhere out back?
Obviously, they didn't buy it. What I'm saying
They
is,
can't take it anywhere.
Where do they steal it off of? What even? Who uses the fucking Gatling gun anymore? Can you even get them? It's an antique. They got it from Johnny Knoxville.
Oh my!
For anybody who's has seen the last Stand, so that means nobody that's listening right now.
Oh yeah, I haven't.
I guess I shouldn't be referencing the last Arnold Schwarzenegger film then. Wow, we've come a long way.
Yeah.
The only other thing I want to mention quickly is when it comes to like if you get IMDb for this and look up the goofs, this kind of film always gets the gun nuts and the military nuts, and this is the kind of thing I hate. This is what kills like goofs for me in films.
This remake or original? These goofs.
This one is the original.
Okay.
At one point, there's like the scene where they're seeing like planes bombing in the distance, and it says here you can see one scene of an American F-111 fighter bomber jet aircraft flying, yet the audio of it is obviously that of the propellers of a twin-engine transport type plane.
What?
Just kill yourself. Just
this fucking cares.
Just. And ironically, that kind of person is not the person that should be watching a film like Red Dawn.
Yeah, right. Jesus.
You don't watch a film about a group of ragtag high schoolers saving America from an invasion of Russians, and then knuckle down and demand realistic portrayal of military transport. That's not going to fucking happen. No, I'm glad you mentioned like Critters too, because this Red Dawn, if you just take Russians and replace it with aliens, seriously, I'm not even. All you have to do is instead of Russians, it's just aliens, and all of a sudden the film makes 10 times more sense.
It's more enjoyable.
It's more plausible. It is more plausible. Now the remake, you couldn't even pull that off.
No, definitely not.
Yep. But again, I went into this never being a fan of the original. So watching the remake, I was even more disgusted by the remake. Because you had the chance to take a simple film and make it complex and interesting, and you couldn't even do that.
Just the fact that it was just shelved for so long, to me, was just that right there. Is that they didn't have faith in it. It was just they just kept putting it off. Until they felt that there was enough faith in the film to be theatrically a success, which it wasn't. It cost $65 million and it made 48. Now it might have done worldwide. It might have made its money, but it just didn't do as well as they were hoping.
They had done it during Bush's first term.
Right.
If they had remade this 2 years after 9/11,
this movie would have had another sequel.
Yeah, they could have easily done it. They waited too long. They waited until we got past the simplistic rah-rah bullshit, and America had finally fucking paid attention and learned a couple things.
Right.
And I don't think there was ever that kind of faith in the film, which is why they took so long. But after a while, you've already dumped so much money into it, got to finish it so they can break even with the foreign market. You know?
How unlucky is Chris Hemsworth being on 2 MGM projects that get shelved for years? Not even like a year or two, like 3 years, 4 years each.
None, because he's also been in like 7 fucking hits. So.
Well, I'm just talking about how unlucky he was with MGM. Like he signed a contract to make movies with them.
Yeah, but it looks like he pulled out of that okay.
Oh, I think he's fine. I'm just talking about his... never mind. Forget it.
My sympathies lie with Taylor Kitsch. Thank you very much.
Yeah, that's a bit... Yeah, yet to still have a hit. But has been given $200 million blockbuster budgets to work with.
Now, wait. Now, just so I'm not mistaken, Chris Hemsworth, Thor?
Hemsworth.
All right. Right, Hemsworth. He's Thor.
Yes.
With the exception of Thor, every Chris Hemsworth film, you could take him out and put Taylor Kitsch in. Same movie. Barely noticeable difference, with the exception of Thor. I don't think Taylor Kitsch could have pulled off Thor.
No, he's not. Not that
No.
he's in bad shape. He's
Just-
not. It's just he's not in that kind of shape. He just doesn't have that presence.
Shape. I'm not talking about abs, motherfucker. I'm talking about acting. Not in that kind of shape.
I don't think you need to be a good actor to play Thor.
I think you need to be. Well, you need to be the type of actor that can pull off the Thor character. I don't think Taylor Kitsch could do that.
Yeah, be talking about burritos the whole time. Bean burrito.
That was a. I like these flapjacks. Bring me
These
more.
are coffee. More coffee. I will throw this mug on the ground 6 more times.
But
What are you talking about, Taylor? Stop it. 1 mug is enough. You don't have to fucking keep breaking it. You're not in Asgard, you dick.
But when I said that, I was shaking my head at them because they couldn't like make this more sophisticated for a modern audience.
Right.
I take that back. This was doomed from the start because you couldn't make this more sophisticated. There's no way to remake Red Dawn into a realistic film. It has to be that simplistic. It's that mindset. It's that 80s mindset, and you cannot duplicate that now. The 80s was a wonderful and horrible period at the same time, and it's you just could never recreate that. Then the closest they could have gotten to that was on the tail end of 9/11, when that's what everybody wanted. They wanted some kind of security so they didn't have to think about all the horrible stuff. They wanted us to think, yeah, all we just need is just to arm the kids, and then we're all good.
That's why Home Alone was such a monster smash in 1990, with the Gulf War looming and whatnot. People just wanted to do something else.
I think
Home Alone came out at literally the same exact time, and it made almost $300 million.
Yeah, I don't.
That movie
I don't know.
doesn't come out. It comes out before or a couple years after the Gulf War.
The first Gulf War?
Yeah, the one in 1990.
One that lasted like a couple of days?
Yeah, well, the build up to it.
Okay.
There was a lot of build up to it. It did only last a couple of days, but there was a whole build up to it that happened. So people they went out and they fucking Home Alone was just a giant smash hit because people just wanted to escape what was going on in the news. What?
I'm going to be forced to disagree with you on that. I don't think
I don't think so.
No, I don't think America as a whole, and I don't want to get into this because it's more of a stranger's topic, but I don't think America as a whole was fleeing from the horrors of living through the build-up to the Gulf. America, that was the Gulf War. The first Gulf War was Red Dawn.
Well,
The first Gulf War was Americans sitting around TVs laughing as Schwarzkopf talked about the luckiest guy in Iraq. See, we have cameras on bombs now. Watch this shit. This guy almost died. And we were just eating this shit up, and everybody was rah-rah. And see, look, they surrendered after 2 days. We rock. No, I don't think nobody was. I disagree. I just.
Wow.
I think that
you can disagree, but I'm pretty sure I'm right. I don't think so.
What was there was no malaise in 1990.
I'll tell you what. If I can find something on that I'll bring it to the show.
Please
Otherwise, I won't bother.
I would be interested in if you do find something on that, because I totally disagree with that.
Okay.
But
right.
anyway,
so let's review the movies then. Let's review them. Let's rate them.
Let's rate them. Okay, I've got them both up here.
Okay.
First Red Dawn.
film.
Oh fuck! I pushed the wrong button. Give me a second.
The
Goddamn
original-
IMDb is one of those sites where when you're on there, it's constantly refreshing because they're always throwing all this fucking ad shit up there.
I know. I have it open ahead of time, and it can become a problem.
It's nonstop refreshing because God forbid
Yeah.
I don't get the newest Super 8 advertisement in the next 10 fucking seconds. Because who knows? After an hour and a half of staring at the screen, I might click on a new. Red Dawn, the original, is at 6.1.
6.1, and I really think 6 is an appropriate rating. I do. I wouldn't go below 6. I liked it enough to keep it at 6.
All right, you know what? I'll give you a 6 just because the film's not poorly done.
It really isn't. I think my only qualm with the film, and it's a small one, is music. It felt a little TV movie for me.
Okay.
But it is an 80s film, and it's a sign of the time. I mean, there are plenty of 80s films that don't have that TV movie feel. This one does, as far as the music and pacing goes with the music.
You know what? I'll give you 6 stars for Powers Boothe.
Okay. Agreed.
And the fact that they kill the girls.
Yeah.
Well, they kill everybody.
They kill Jennifer Grey, who happens to be in Dirty Dancing with Patrick Swayze just a mere 3 years later.
Nobody puts the Wolverines in a corner. All right, I'll give that 6. I just rated that 6.
Okay.
And then Red Dawn 2012
is at a 5.2. It's a whole point below.
Tell you what, let's start at 6. The same rating for the first, and
knock it down.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No. I was just agreeing with you. We're gonna knock it down, right?
I'm gonna knock it down 1 star for the spider hole bullshit.
I'll knock it down 1 star for doing all the plot twists or reversals throughout the entire goddamn film. Just the fact that it really felt like someone watched the original, wrote down every plot point, small or large, and said, let's reverse it. Let's reverse it. Okay, we'll do it this way. Let's reverse it. It's like, it was so apparent.
Now,
apparent.
Here's the question for you. If they were going through all that trouble, why wouldn't they let North Korea win at the end?
Yeah, right.
There's the ending.
But you know what they do different, where in the original, the war does end. They do say it ends. Whereas in the remake, again, plot point, let's not make it end.
Well, they kind of imply that
they were winning.
That the young idiot brothers' new miraculously raised army is wiping them out with muscle cars with Gatling guns, and I'm deducting a star for the fucking Gatling gun.
Okay, so we're at 2 stars at this point.
3. We're at 3. We started at 6.
6. Your point brought it to 5. Mine brought it to. You did 2.
Yes, I did 2. So we're down to 3.
That's 3. Okay.
6 minus 3.
Yes.
I'm being very spiteful with 3, but I definitely wouldn't go lower.
Yeah, even with another point, I wouldn't go lower either. So 3 it is.
3 it is.
Let's go ahead and end the show. Lordy Lord. All right, episode 110 of Moviesucktastic. All right. iTunes, go there. Download the show. Review us. Go to our website at Moviesucktastic.com. Download the show there if you want. Or you can watch it live from the live stream app that I have there. You can also leave us voicemail at 908-514-4470. Or you can leave us email at themovieguys@Moviesucktastic.com.
Or
also go to our Facebook page at facebook.com/Moviesucktastic.
You can leave messages for us there, and you can also download the show from there as well.
That's right. You absolutely can. Every week. Every episode is posted there.
Yes.
Yeah.
And if you tell us to review a movie, we will review it.
That's right. So, as a matter of fact, from the website, you can use the email form to choose what movies we review. There is a special section in the email form where you can do that.
You name it, we'll trash it.
Necromantic? Oh, God.
No.
Why would we do that? We've already watched the Serbian film.
Yeah, that kind of, yeah.
Yeah, we've already been there, done that. Mm-hmm. But if you go to the web form and you ask us to review it, we probably will.
It'll be a short review, but...
Yes, it will be. Anyway. All right, everybody. Thank you. We'll talk to you next week.
Goodbye.